Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode number 11 in the book of 1 John podcast. Be with me. Today's title is Leaving a Trail of Tenderness. So the idea is if you follow the breadcrumbs of practical love of people, follow my breadcrumbs of my practical love for the people of God, it should lead you back to my love for God. So this is from 1 John chapter 3. I'm going to read verses 11 through 16. For this is the message that you have heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. We should not be like Cain, who was of the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own deeds were evil and his brothers were righteous. Do not be surprised, brothers, that the world hates you. We know that we have passed out of death into life because we love the brothers. There's the breadcrumbs. Whoever does not love abides in death. Everyone who hates his brother is a murderer. More breadcrumbs. And you know that no murderer has eternal life abiding in him. Verse 16. By this we know love, that he laid down his life for us, and we ought to, here are the breadcrumbs, lay down our lives for the brothers. All right, so let me make a couple of observations. Number one, we should be doing this. This is a command. We should be loving, and we shouldn't be like Cain. So there's some definitive charge here. Number two, this is nothing new. Leviticus talks about loving your neighbor, and then at the Last Supper, Jesus says, as I have loved you, we should be loving each other. That's going to be a very high call because Jesus lays down his life in this passage, and we find it sacrificial and physical. It's also emotional. Jesus weeps as he goes into Jerusalem. It's fatiguing. It's repetitive. Have you ever read the Gospels? With the knuckleheads he has to deal with, and frustrating because of, it's people. It's a ministry to people. It's loving of people, which is difficult. All right, number three. That love appropriately demonstrated will not result in love from the world. In a sense, love is going to result in hate from the world. So hate, envy, and violence from the world. And the charge here is don't be surprised. And the subtext is we are going to be surprised. You're going to say, hey, I'm doing this right. I'm loving. And all I'm getting is hate from the world. Number four, love and hate are connected to their source. So Cain here is of the evil one, quote unquote. So his source is from the evil one, and then he's going to get, resulting from that, envy and hate and murder. And verse 16 says, we know love primarily because he first loved us and laid down his life for us. So our love is sourced in him. Cain's love is sourced in the evil one. Number five, here's the big one, is that we know about the interior love for God because of the exterior life for the brothers. Let me say that again. We know about the interior life of our love for God because of the exterior life of our love for the brothers. So this is the brotherhood or the sisterhood, or in my vernacular, the knucklehood. The saved from God are now in the church. And so the external is going to demonstrate our internal feeling. Remember, the church is full of redeemed ne'er-do-wells. So it's not going to be easy sometimes. So similarly, we know that no love equals hate equals murder equals no eternal life. So you can observe a person's salvation or their salvation state by their behaviors of love or by their behaviors of hate. So Christian is, write this down, Christian is as Christian does. Behavior is going to betray their belief, and actions are going to demonstrate their attitude. So today, the true transformation is going to leave a trail. What is the trail of tenderness? So true transformation towards the Lord is going to leave a trail of tenderness towards the brotherhood. So God's love and the love of God is manifested by the love of God's people. So the love of God equals loving of the brotherhood, the knucklehood. So shouldn't I, you may say to me, your argument should be, hey, shouldn't I love the world? Well, I don't know if I've ever seen anyone love the world well without first loving the brotherhood. So let me absolve you of the guilt of loving the world unless you're first loving the church. And let me heap admonishment on your head to get busy loving the brotherhood. So perhaps the love of the world is impossible without first loving the church, the brotherhood. So should I love the world? If that's your question, my charge would be start by serving the church. And maybe you say, hey, well, I don't know what my gift is. Well, start with service. Assume it's service and get busy with it until proven otherwise. Well, where in the church? Well, if you don't know, start in the nursery. Go make friends with the 4-year-old. Or start with the middle schoolers and ask the Lord to warm your heart to middle schoolers. So if you don't know where to start with service. Show up at one of those places and say, hey, you guys need help. Or ask a pastor where he could use you. All right, so brotherly, sisterly love is a high call. Verse 16, it says, we learned about love from Jesus. By this we know love, that he laid down his life. So again, Jesus' love is sacrificial and physical and emotional and fatiguing. So probably you're on the right track if you say, my service in the church is inconvenient and it makes me tired. That is a good sign. So we ought to be laying down our life for our sisters. So in conclusion, let's ask, if all there were my actions, what would they convey about my feelings towards God? Would they reveal that I love God? And could my behaviors toward the sisterhood and the knucklehood be interpreted as a love for God? Or maybe even they would be interpreted as a distain. Like maybe people would observe my behaviors and say, hey, you look like a guy who hates God. So would an outside evaluator using my relationship with the brotherhood conclude you hate God, or do they leave a trail of tenderness? So today, let's let our behaviors betray our love for God. To who? To the brotherhood. So let's leave a trail of tenderness towards the sisterhood of God. Thanks for listening.